Have you ever wondered if one person's courage could change the fate of an entire nation? The remarkable story of Queen Esther proves exactly that, showing how faith, bravery, and divine timing can work together to accomplish the impossible. Our story takes place in ancient Persia, around 470 BC, in the magnificent city of Susa. The Persian Empire was the largest the world had ever seen, stretching from India to Ethiopia. King Xerxes, also known as Ahasuerus, ruled over 127 provinces with absolute power. The story begins when Queen Vashti refuses to appear at the king's banquet, leading to her removal as queen. The king's advisors suggest gathering beautiful young women from across the empire to choose a new queen. Among these women is a Jewish girl named Hadassah, who goes by the Persian name Esther. Esther lives with her cousin Mordecai, who raised her after her parents died. Mordecai serves in the king's palace and advises Esther to keep her Jewish identity secret. When Esther enters the palace, her grace and beauty capture everyone's attention, including the king's trusted advisor, Haggai, who oversees the women's preparation. After 12 months of beauty treatments, each woman takes her turn to appear before King Xerxes. When Esther's time comes, she wins the king's heart immediately. As the Bible tells us in Esther 2:17, the king loved Esther more than all the other women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen. But the story takes a dark turn when Haman, the king's highest official, becomes enraged that Mordecai refuses to bow to him. Discovering Mordecai is Jewish, Haman plots not just his destruction, but that of all Jews throughout the empire. He manipulates King Xerxes into signing an irrevocable decree ordering the annihilation of all Jews on a specific date. When Mordecai learns of this plot, he tears his clothes in mourning and puts on sackcloth and ashes, a traditional sign of grief. He sends word to Esther about the decree, urging her to petition the king. However, approaching the king without being summoned carries a death sentence unless he extends his golden scepter. This leads to one of the most famous exchanges in the Bible. Mordecai tells Esther, "Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" These words challenge Esther to recognize that perhaps God placed her in this position precisely for this moment. Esther's response shows remarkable courage and faith. She asks all Jews to fast for 3 days, saying, "I will go to the king, even though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish." She understands that sometimes doing what's right requires risking everything. When Esther appears before the king, he welcomes her and offers to grant any request. Instead of immediately revealing her people's plight, she wisely invites the king and Haman to 2 separate banquets. During this time, the king discovers that Mordecai once saved his life from assassins, but was never rewarded. At the second banquet, Esther finally reveals her Jewish identity and exposes Haman's plot to destroy her people. The king, furious at this deception, orders Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai. Since Persian law cannot be reversed, the king issues a new decree allowing the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. The Jews successfully defend themselves across the empire, and Mordecai is elevated to second in rank to King Xerxes. This deliverance is still celebrated today in the Jewish festival of Purim, reminding people how one person's courage can change history. Esther's story teaches us several timeless lessons. First, courage often means standing up for what's right, even when facing personal risk. Second, our circumstances, however challenging, might be part of a larger divine plan. Third, wisdom and patience in handling difficult situations can lead to better outcomes than hasty actions. The story also shows how God often works through ordinary people in extraordinary ways. Esther wasn't born into royalty, but her faith, courage, and wisdom made her the right person at the right time to save her people. She reminds us that we too might be positioned for such a time as this in our own lives. This ancient story continues to inspire people today, showing how one person's brave choice to stand up for justice can impact generations to come. Esther's journey from an orphaned girl to a queen who saved her nation demonstrates that with faith, courage, and divine guidance, ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for more.